And then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, later May, I got a call from WED that said they were looking for a man to go up to Jamestown to take over a club up there. The pitch at Pittsburgh was going to take over. I knew baseball pretty well,
Right.
but I didn't know anything about running a baseball club from a business end. But I got a quick history from Oliver French. I spent probably an hour with the president of the Pittsburgh Club in his office, and he just told me about the general thing that they were taking over this club. This fellow was Bill Binswinger, who was president of the club. Can I be liable? But one day he approached me at Celeron Park and suggested that it'd be a good idea if I put him on the payroll as publicity director.
Oh, really?
And I don't know if I was smart or dumb, but I said, no, if we don't need a publicity director, I can do my own.
Sure.
He was a little peeved about that. It's very difficult to describe. I played sandlot baseball, town team baseball when I was younger, and I never played on in a field that was worse than Celeron Park.
Tell me about the park. If you had to close your eyes and describe the park looking out to the lake, how would you describe it?
Scenery was wonderful.
Yeah.
You had big trees in the left field and the lake behind it, and no outfield fences.
Mm-hmm.
And the right field was a little closer, and infield was, of course, a skin diamond, but it didn't have any space for the shortstop or the second baseman to operate in. It just ended from base to base. And outfield was rather rough. I know the guys that played it out there complained. The worst part was the place for the people to sit.
Mm-hmm.
The stands were old, and there was no bathrooms. There wasn't any porta potties or anything like that in the park. I think we tried to play them late in the afternoon so that they became more like twilight games, except on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Just like an old ball player, and he was a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And they had nubs for fingers. Mickey didn't stay in Jamestown. He commuted from Buffalo for each game.
Mm-hmm.
He'd drive down for the game, and after the game was over, he'd drive home. Well, one time we went to Bradford, and he was either sick, had car trouble, or something. He couldn't get to the game. So I sat on the bench in street clothes. And technically I was running the club, but actually Bill Black was doing it for me.
Right.
And I remember the pitcher for Bradford that day, I think, was a guy named Warren Spahn.
Really?
Yeah. Les was, I believe, in Jamestown, but I believe he he went before I got down there.
I think what might have happened, I'm looking at a bunch of names here. Their first game, before the Pirates, they won, and they had guys like Joe Elcata, Paul Gasanovic, David Keena, Chuck Ireland, Ronnie Dolman, Ralph Mead, Bill Ciccarelli, Al Christ, Al Bolson.
No, yeah. Now wait a minute. Christ stayed with us
Did he?
at the start, but he got released mid-season. See, all these players we had in this picture didn't all come in at once.
Right.
They were fed in, so some of those fellows that were on the original club stuck around for a while. And they weren't sent away necessarily because of their ability. It was just a case of filled your team with kids that the scouts knew, I guess. He was pitching for Olean and got released, and he came over to Jamestown to see if he could get a job. And I talked to Mickey, and we had a spot, so we signed him.
And you would actually sign the contracts, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. On behalf of the Pirates?
Yeah. And he had, he actually was the best pitcher we had, I thought. Chuck was a better fighter than he was a ball player.
A fighter, huh?
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this. I think that he became a fighter and fought for the championship. He was always ready to fight when he had a baseball uniform on, I know. We were fortunate enough to have the Pittsburgh Pirates come in for an exhibition game. Of course, they had the Weiner brothers, and that was a great thrill just to meet those guys. But they came out at the park all dressed in uniforms, which all the players did because there was no place to dress there. I didn't hear any direct quotes from them, but I don't think they ever wanted to come back. When I came from meeting with Pittsburgh, my initial visit, Honus Wagner was coming up at the same time, and we sat in the ball game watching the Pirates play until about the 7th inning. And I can remember him telling me that one of the Pittsburgh guys was a bat, and I forget what happened. He didn't operate the way Mr. Wagner would.
Yeah.
He said, I would have just waited for that outside pitch, and I would have just punched it out into right field.
Little old Celeron Park had at least five Hall of Famers.
Yes, it did.
Wow. And you no doubt were responsible for making that happen.
More or less, I guess.
At the end of the season, the Pirates made a decision to move the team. Did you go with it?
Yep.
And where did you go?
London, Ontario.
London. Were you there the second year there?
Yeah.
That probably wasn't a tough decision for Pittsburgh to make?
No.
Yeah.
I may have triggered it, but I didn't make it. I knew the newspaper guys pretty well, and I guess had a conversation with them, and I indicated that I didn't think Pittsburgh would want to come back there and play at Celeron Park. I know there was an article in the paper about it, and I guess that upset the owner of Celeron Park, because he was rather friendly before, but he wasn't very friendly afterwards.
Well, thank you, Jim. This was just terrific, and thank you for letting me...
It's nice to have you come.